After 14 rounds of overtime between Oxygen and Dark Zero, it is Oxygen who get that map win of Lotus, and none of us were expecting the map to go that distance. We've talked about how well Oxygen were looking on this map. They had an 8-4 half, but Emily, as we went into the second half, into that overtime, it seems like it was never gonna end.
Oh my gosh, I really thought it was never gonna end. I was starting to grow gray hairs from how long we were waiting. But I just feel like I need time still to digest everything that just happened. I can imagine that the players feel the same way. It felt like once we swapped over to the second half, it was a 8-4 half for Oxygen Esports. Things really started to kick off, like you said. Dark Zero lost the pistol, but then they won the force buy, and then from there on out, it just kind of felt like they were very composed. They had lots of really good mid-rounding and quick decision-making. This round that we see on this screen was absolutely incredible. Those type of plays are just really bread and butter with the orbital strike mixed with the C's. These type of combos, I felt like, helped keep Oxygen Esports in the game, and Redux really stepped up towards the half. I mean, he had so many incredible rounds. Like this one right here, we had to go back for the replay to see that insane fast 3K that he had. And this last round on the screen, I thought he was going to get an ace. He waited for the perfect timing with the Omen Flash comboed with his nades, and overall, just such a fun match to watch.
I mean, 19-19 first kills between the two, and the 2018 match that we just saw is the longest that we've had in Challengers, at least of this year, and maybe even longer, maybe the longest and craziest overtime we've ever had, Gompers, because it seems like, as Emily was saying, this was never gonna end.
It really did feel that way, and a lot of the reason being, like, both of these teams, they were so good at searching for that control and gaining it, but they also just never wanted to let it go. So then you were caught in these really big eruptions of fights. You were caught in obviously 1v1 situations, clutch situations, right, that we got to see from everybody on both sides of the team. Just for Oxygen to reign victorious again, 88% win percentage through 8 maps across the past couple months for Oxygen. So for them, this has been the map that they were sure that they were going to win, and that's exactly what they did.
I mean, they were sweating a little bit, though, that's for sure, with so many rounds that they ended up playing out. I mean, 14 rounds. That would have been a second map going 13-1. It's insane what we just saw. And I mean, shout out to Verno as well. I know we're looking at the very top, we're looking at the two duelists, the two race players, Corey on Redux having such a crazy impact, but Verno in those overtime rounds, Emily, he was having an insane impact too. You talked about the orbital strike, you talked about the combination that we saw with the Fade. I think he was a constant throughout, which allowed them to close out the map at the end.
Yeah, it just felt like, again, they had such good mid-rounding. I think that was important. We would see them start over towards A and get the A control. They would go through Baby Door, and then they would mix in, do a fake plan at B, then they would run towards C. So this is the type of mid-rounding that is needed. It's very difficult to do on the fly like that, but definitely needed from them. We knew that this was going to be an intense game versus these two teams. I didn't think it was going to go into that much OT, but I'm glad it did. It just really felt like it was a grand finals match to watch.
It puts you in the situation that the players are in. They are playing to stay alive, to make it to Ascension, to represent North America, and also on the other side, to not be eliminated just yet. That is, I mean, whoever loses here, that's going to be the end of their year for Challengers, and they're going to have to wait if they want to ascend as a whole team, they're going to have to wait a whole other year. So a situation that nobody wants to be in just yet, but I mean, we have to talk about Oxygen having the upper hand on this one. We talked about the Lotus, and now as we go into Icebox, I'm wondering, Emily, what they're able to carry it with. I mean, when it's such a close map, what do you think the mental is feeling like for both of these teams?
Yeah, like I said, as a player, that is so mentally draining, and going into that many OTs, you really used all of the ideas that you have in your playbook, and then it just comes on how can you adapt the most. Going into Icebox now, we haven't seen much Icebox from Oxygen Esports. In fact, I don't think we've seen any in all of Stage 2. So not really sure what they're going to bring to the table. This is a pretty strong map for Dark Zero, in my opinion. They've got 100% win rate on it. And also for them, they're very strong on the attacking side, defense side, sorry. That's what they're starting on. They have a 71% win rate on the defense side. So I think that Dark Zero is going to start off really strong on their map pick, in my opinion, for Icebox.
And Gumpers, what are you looking at for this map of Icebox? What are some of the keys you talked about before? You talked about the synergy that you need on this map to make it work out. Do you think that's going to be given the upper hand for Oxygen as they come out of this overtime, or do you think it's going to be the Dark Zero win on this map?
I think we've seen a lot of instances within Oxygen of what they're capable of synergy-wise, right, with the Fade, Tether combined with that orbital strike that we got to see from, I believe it was from, I actually have it here, from Mitch. So when you see that, it really does make you feel a little bit more secure looking into a map like Icebox for Oxygen. But with DZ, they're so good at gaining, I wouldn't say gaining control, but I'd say maintaining it, both on the attack and on the defense. And I feel like that on a map like Icebox is so dire that it just overwrites everything. I feel like this is a DZ map.
And I just want to bring up, we were listening to Redux talking in an interview before this game even started, and he said that he gathered his team together to say, okay guys, we need to lock in. And I feel like that is so relevant to the situation right now. They absolutely need to lock in if they want to close it out to continue on, because this isn't their map pick, and I don't think it's one of their strongest maps. They could make it work, but now's the time to lock in, like Redux said.
And sometimes it just takes the hero plays, the individual plays for some of these players to close it out. I mean, that's what happened in all of those rounds was overtime that we were seeing the team plays, everybody kind of fragging out. But sometimes you need that one player to step up and be like, okay, we've had enough. This is the way that is going to work. And that is exactly what Redux was able to do into that last round to get that 3K. It's something that you need to rely on as well, Gompers, on this map that can depend so much on the duelists and the positions that they're going to be playing here with the operator. There's a lot of options. I think all of the players here are pretty flexible when it comes to it. So let's jump into the agent select, Gumpers. Let's see what we're going to be playing here.
I'm excited to take a look. I'm worried now, not worried. Okay, Corey on the Reyna, which has been something people have been popping up, which Reyna is such an independent player, but for Dark Zero, they were crazy on Lotus. And I think they feel comfortable enough kind of letting someone take the lead like Corey, especially with Corey kind of being that overdog, but two players there playing the duelist role, which is great.
And I'm looking at Dark Zero's map pool. Actually, they did a little bit of a change. Last time they played, they were using Gecko. So no Gecko this time. I think I agree with you, Gompers. I think Reyna is I think only on Icebox, Reyna is impeccable to use, and on Corey. So I think the change is going to be okay. It's just not knowing what to expect, because Gecko does have such a big impact, but obviously they have a plan around this.
It's a Reyna that we saw yesterday on that map of Haven, and when we asked Corey why he was playing that Reyna on that map, he was talking about how it was just something that was on the fly because they didn't get enough practice with what we did was going to be doing on that map. So I'm wondering if it's the same case here. It's something that you can work around and make work for the side of B-Dog and Corey, and on the other side for Oxygen, playing with this Harbor that I love to see on this map, can get a lot of value. Let's find out if Oxygen is going to take this series 2-0, or is Dark Zero going to bounce back on the second map of Icebox with Vance and Lemon.
Thank you so much. Yes, this has really felt like a grand final. We are being treated to one of the most exciting matches in all of playoffs, and what a treat of a match. Speaking of grand finals, like Oxygen and Dark Zero, called Turtle Troop at the time, faced off on Icebox, and it went pretty heavy in the way of Oxygen last time.
Yeah, and I want to agree with chat during that break. They said, oh, I wish we had a lower finals so that we can't really see one of these teams go home yet. And I have wholeheartedly agree, because I after what I've been seeing so far from these players, I mean, so many of them deserve to, if not all of them deserve to be in the tier 1 scene. But back into the reality of it, this is elimination point now for Oxygen if they could close out the second map. A map, as you just mentioned, during the mid-season cup in the grand finals, defeated Dark Zero 13-5. But also both of these teams running different comps this time around. Double duelists on the defensive side, looking for aggression on mid.
Dark Zero are undefeated on this map. This is why this is their picked in. It's first blood for Mitch. And we just haven't seen any Harbor from Oxygen, and we're not going to see it this round. Missing out on your Reyna, though, as a duelist for Corey. At least you got a backup. It's B-Dog, that jet specialist. This Dark Zero. No, there could be players on the other side as well. And as it's dropped, Oxygen were ready, and they fire right through the hearts of Dark Zero.
Last player
And it's a
standing.
2v2, though. And it's scrappy around this site. Zatter, a little too antsy, forces out the dash, though, from Redux. Zatter, heard the spike be tapped. He will look in the wrong direction. It gets a chance for Verno to strike.
Great piss around to start things off here for Oxygen to salvage the bleeding, to stop the bleeding, especially when they've lost Mitch here into the mid fight. That said, you were mentioning here, it's an agent that hasn't really been played by Mitch overall as a Harbor, but a composition that we've seen before here on this icebox with this double controller, so that it could stall as much as you could here on the takes into the sites and into the post lines when you're just trying to isolate and flush people out of these positions. And double controller is very good for that, and you also allow to get good conditioning being done too on the Viper Wall that you could use here on the attack. That said, though, the Viper Wall is being saved by Scuba. This is an equal for Dark Zero where they're trying to fight back towards A main.
I think Oxygen are sussing out Corey in this position. He's able to drop on the other side, and he had B-Dog there just in case they wanted to make a play. Oxygen get nothing for their efforts. They'll leave someone behind in case the defense wanted to keep extending, but Oxygen will pivot. Look at this readout of Dark Zero. They're already stacked.
Yeah, they're just going and gambling back and forth, and that was because of this wall that just came out here. Like I said before, it was held before by Scuba, and as they pulled that up, like, oh, maybe the hit's going to come here this time, especially with the Owl drone that's going to try to clear towards B. So this should be an open site, as you can see on the minimap. But this is also a composition, as we have a chance to talk about it, being utilized by Leviathan over in the VCTs, and it had so many good successes on this map with this comp. And that's also just leveraging how good Aspas was, of course, on opening entries, and also continuously fight towards screens, updrafting towards the air, above screens, and fighting. So I would like to think, because this is an Oxygen Esports that has a lot of grit and a lot of attitude, they would like to play some very similar playstyles. You can already see them. Nobody playing on the post plan. All of them, except for one, holding up here towards A, and they're just getting rid of the fight rather in the back of the A site.
Cascade pushing the back. And Dark Zero, if they walk through that, it's gonna be cooked. You gotta wait it out, and so they do, and this is where the shock bolt puts pressure onto Mitch. And Dark Zero have their presence known, starting to establish themselves as Redux tries to be elusive through the smoke. And with the SMG, gets one. It's Oxygen and a 3 versus 2 now on the post play. Time running out for Corey. Still having a Lear, but not having any more friends to fall with. Corey will just be taken out by the spike, and it will be Oxygen taking the anti-eco.
Yeah, and that gives us a chance, rather, to talk about the Dark Zero as well. This is also a different composition, and they're coming out as well. Arena in the hands of Corey. Going double duelist on the defensive side is going to be very hard to do as well when you don't have too much active utility coming through. I mean, you still have Adder that can watch middle or whatnot, but you also have, with this double duelist, a little bit less stall is what I'm trying to get to. So maybe you're just going to have this group, as you had between B-Dog and Corey, just like they did on Piss Around. They walked down towards mid. This time around, gun rounds that you have, both of them looking back towards the B side, at least with the support from Asova to start. But I think these two will just try to get stay together to try to fight as much as they could.
Ooh, B-Dog tried to be aggressive and gets chunked down by Redux, the master of jets. Now with this wall coming down, thankfully no one was at yellow box, because Oxygen would have been caught off guard, but it's still, yellow box is still something Oxygen have to clear, and they'll do so with the recon, with Redux getting on top of the box. They'll get a ping on the Corey, knowing he went to mid cut, and they have Dapper in position to capitalize. So mid control and a lane paved down for Oxygen. But now with vision being blocked from mid and Dapper giving up mid as well, Oxygen not so comfortable getting a spike down yet.
Should be looking pretty good here. They're just going to wait for the second wave of fuel, or even because they have the harbor. Mitch, if they have the high tide up, especially now that they popped out the orb on the other end, this might be just wait for the harbor wall. Let's go for a second wave. Let's go for a cove plant and play a clean post plant towards the end. Yeah, but at least they're giving you so much respect for Dark Zero. I mean, imagine, look at the scoreline you see on the top. It was a 20-18 scoreline that finished the first half, or the first map, as you could see. So Oxygen knows that they have, you know, a roster that can turn it around, especially with this first blood on the post plant.
Yeah, catching at least someone mid's a good chance for Oxygen to start continuing this round in their favor. Now with the spike planted, they can just head back, play for main, and now with this Viper wall being up for Scuba, Dark Zero really have to rely on contact from Stellar, and they'll get a ping on the Redux, and kind of awkward there for Adder, having his focus split between the rest of Oxygen's reinforcements on the other side. And it'll be 3 in a row for Oxygen here in a second.
And that second is already there. The last kill picked up by Scuba, and this is going to reset the economy for Dark Zero. And you can tell here how difficult it's been right now for Dark Zero. I mean, it was still a 3 versus 5, but when you're trying to retake that site, when We Did is placing this wall, this is a default Viper wall that you see here being placed all across towards the A side, although it seems like he's using it towards Boiler and Screens as well. Nonetheless, it makes it much more difficult here for Dark Zero to try to retake into an open sighted plant over B. And that's something that potentially Oxygen could do time after time on this B side, because they could cold plant and they could just eat the bullets while they're planting out in the open like that.
So the Cascade own half the real estate after Dark Zero have been poking around, extending through A and really testing the waters. And playing that forward as we did, but backing away. Just seeing Oxygen were to cross that corner side, but Oxygen really take their time. Yeah,
and I'm sorry, I just realized that the extra line that I was seeing at the beginning was just the barriers. So like, it's just my bit rate's a little bit off here as I'm watching the screen. But nonetheless, the default wall comes back. It's an eco that you have for Dark Zero. They have a stack coming in towards A, and it's up to Corey to try to fight info. At least for now, if they could stall out towards the A site and push them back for Oxygen, this gives a chance for Corey to open things up on the recross back towards mid. Lots of fights across the map.
Dapper in a 1v1. Great timing on Adder. Clears the way for B and pulls the rotation. But here's Corey to cut it off. But he just has a Sheriff. Hey, getting one is good. And with the Reyna, won't be allowed to disengage quite safely. But, okay, there's Mitch. The last duckling to stop Dark Zero from going on the flank. As Oxygen plant down. Just We Did in a 1v4. And Oxygen had a great start on the last map. Not too shabby from We Did, but Oxygen, they always have these great starts.
Yeah, both Weed and Corey looking pretty good on those shots on the Sheriff. And you talk about the last little duckling, sorry, but he wasn't lost here, Mitch. That he threw a perfect high tide to not allow Corey to get an extra pick with the Sheriff, as he looked like he was going to be on fire on that repeat and save that round. Saved also another fight on a push on a main, just to make the plan a little bit more easier for Oxygen. But if not, when We Did was holding back here and fighting towards that B site, he kept the economy quite low against here Oxygen. Yes, they still have a pretty strong buy, but these are still crucial kills that you want round after round here for the defensive side, especially when you've lost your gun run against Oxygen's bonus.
Oh, reckoning from Mitch after they got information of 2 Dark Zero defenders on this site. This will force Dark Zero out, and Redux hunts for blood, comes up from behind, waited on screens, and strikes through 3! He is so good. Plant for Oxygen. B-Dog with the op is just going to decide to save it. And Adder looking for exit frags. This round is already over.
How does this go, Chad? Gira, Redux! Gira! Dude, that guy was owning towards that back of the A site there. Again, it's just a simple play that came out, and we've seen this before if you've been watching the VCTs. Just trying to play above the high tides. It blocks the vision of your opponents. You get the upper hand by updrafting. You're breaking crosshair placements on Bladestorm to get all those picks in. No opportunities here for Dark Zero, and they might, okay, these are nice kills at least. I was going to say they might not have a chance to save all the rifles remaining here for these last 2 players, but Adder will be able to do so at least for now.
Great start for Oxygen. And I mean, both these teams have really dominated on their offenses. They know how to execute the plans from scrims. B-Dog gets to keep the op too. That's what's important. You got lockdowns, Empress, the Viper's Pit. Oxygen will have a really good post plan if they can get that going, but I think both teams need to discuss how they're going to use these lockdowns too.
Yeah. If anything, most importantly for Dark Zero for sure, because they don't want to let this slip. Again, this is their tournament lies pretty much right here if it ends against Oxygen, and then it'll have to potentially be just another round, another attempt the following year. So you're trying to keep this close, and there's potentially a reason why you still want to let this float and pick this even against Oxygen when you lost 13-5, and it shows because it came out with a brand new composition. I don't know if they were expecting, though, for Oxygen to pull out the same thing, because it almost felt like Corey wanted to go toe-to-toe against Redux as Arena at this point. But now they have to think on the fly, but they don't have to think that hardly, because they've seen this composition before. This is a composition, and if you've been watching a lot, there's good ways to fight against it. You just have to realize how you can play a little bit further back into the aggression of Redux at the very beginning, and if not, how can you play deniability on the B site and not allow the double controllers to get too much map value.
Right here.
And Dark Zero, their best side is attack on Icebox, and this is also the same two teams that it went 9-4, a start for Oxygen, and it ended 20-18. So Dark Zero know how to play from behind. They're not worried. This may not be their stronger side, but do have a strong opper in B-Dog watching over B. But Oxygen have been free to kill the first 10-ish seconds of the round to start going into A. And there's a stack on this side. It's a 5-3. If Oxygen want to press the issue. Now how do you flush Stellar out from this position? No one's really watching it now. But the high tide is up. Oxygen have locked Dark Zero in a place they do not want to be. And this round already feels over once again for Oxygen, who are so deadly on their executes.
Dark Zero for this round and the previous round, we're trying to leverage the operator towards this B side, and it's been avoided by Oxygen. Nonetheless, though, they still had a heavy lean towards A. But once the flood of util comes through and the pathing was different from Redux, you saw the positioning off this timeout. Oh, let's see if this fight continues on, though. There you go. Adder saves the gun for now. But you see the different positioning coming out. Stellar's playing on the top of the 8 tower, so we could maybe try to get that pick into the aggression of Redux, updrafting towards 410, jumping out on the top of screens. But instead, this time Redux just pat down towards Generator, and then they had a recounter that pinged out Stellar, and boom, goes the dynamite. Ooh. Everybody falls for Dark Zero.
No more op, though, for B-Dog, but 2 exit kills for Adder, which is great for him. Work towards another lockdown, but Oxygen 6-0. Flawless. There's nothing more to say to that. They have these 5v3s. They lock people in with the high tide. They'll cascade forward if they think someone's close. They have a game plan, and no one has forced them off of it.
And that's why it was important a couple of rounds ago when we did and Cora was able to do a little bit of damage with the Sheriffs. But now that you're seeing that this is 6 unanswered rounds, flawless on top of that you just mentioned, Lemon Kiwi, the economy is going to be just continuously very good for Oxygen for the rest of the half. And now you're trying to change the pace with the Sheriffs pushing up towards pipes. That's also something that they could leverage here with this double duelist on the A side. And hopefully they could do that with rifles in the next round.
Yeah, best case scenario would have been B-Dog surprising them with the Hero Vandal, but the one thing that's for sure is what, death taxes and Oxygen going A and winning the round.
Yeah.
So well, I guess they went to B once or twice, but this is Oxygen on their playground. And even though Oxygen haven't played this map since the mid-season cup, so they obviously have worked so hard to prepare for anything. And Emily talked about Oxygen's hero, or not hero pool, but the map pool, and how extensive it is, and it's really showing.
100%. And even for Dark Zero 2, a map that they've been playing regularly throughout the stage 2. I think they played it 3 times with that different composition, and then this time wanted to come out with something new, prepped just against Oxygen Esports. Again, probably leaving that open. Okay, well, we have an opportunity to really try to counter against Redux, against the composition here that Austin could have potentially pulled out the last time they met against each other, and maybe reviewing on that tape to fight. But
Right here.
now this is going to be a round where you're just hoping. I mean, this may be a swing round if B-Dog can get picks here with the Blade Storms, because they have ults to follow behind it.
Okay, at least B-Dog goes 1 for 1. With these double duelists on Dark Zero's side, they're hoping to pull off more of these solo plays. And oh, a triple kill now for Scuba. And only 4 versus 2, but it's still cursed. It could still be cursed. We'll see if that follows into Icebox. 7-0 for Oxygen. High Tide, but maybe leaving a small gap on that high ground. But Stellar is still gonna be conservative, trying to talk to Adder. Do they want to invest the lockdown against all the ults you probably assume that Oxygen have? And now that Adder is pinged, this is so chalked.
Yeah, I think they might want to give it up, but Stellar looks like he wants to try to go for some sort of pick. But there's just way too many ults. I mean, Verno's already all the way back towards A. If anything, the Hunter's Fury could guarantee the round. They have too many ults now on the defense, on the attack side on the post plant.
Yeah, please tell me Redux lag there. That was so weird. Now the Hunter's Fury on top of that. Time is running out to get the defuse. Oh, that was Verno's Hunter's Fury. Never mind. But 4 for Scuba and the ace. And Oxygen letting them know what's up.
Do we have any PC ads right now for aces like in VCTs? I don't think so, right? So we'll just call it a nice little ace on the lurk on the post plan as well for Scuba. That said, though, as I was mentioning, there's a lot of good ults available on the defensive side for Dark Zero in the very beginning. I didn't really look on the side of Oxygen that they had so much to counter against everything here that the defensive side had. They had Hunter's Fury to play against the lockdown. They have Reckoning to play post plan, and they also on their end on the attack side are cycling a lot of ults too. So this is definitely a pain point for Dark Zero so far, and you're hoping at least right now with this comp on the defensive side where you're starting with a double duelist. I mean, you're hoping to at least get 3 out of the 4 remaining rounds in terms of what you could salvage. And this time, B-Dog, they're inserting him alone towards the A site, 4 players towards B. That might be the play this time around.
Oxygen are hoping for another insert sponsor here. Flawless. But it's one step at a time. Start with the Owl Drone, play off the Viper Wall.
Black light everything.
Yeah.
Poison's off.
Stark Zero.
Black light.
Oh my God. God, is that you?
No, it was Blacklight. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Well, Reckoning for Mitch. As soon as they sense Dark Zero are on the side. Oh, B-Dog clean shot, but the Reckoning will find you. Mitch throws it out. Trigger being pulled, but it's Corey that bests Verno. And with the Viper Wall up, this is so scrappy. And Scuba is pulling off so many multi-kills. It's just Dapper, though, with the lockdown still active, to get the spike back in his hands right on the other side. The High Tide. Dapper clears the lockdown right in time. Taps the spike, expecting someone around the corner. 11 seconds. You may just have to go for kills, because I don't think Dark Zero gonna let you plant. Gets barely away with it. And now Stellar emerges. Dapper with a great read. Here's Adder from behind, but chokes as Adder gets to defuse in the first round for Dark Zero.
That's one of those things where when you're playing your ranked games, everybody's like, I saw the vision. As he was falling back, he just saw the top of the head of Stellar, but switched out to the spike because of the time remaining, but at least identified where the last 2 players were at, and almost was able to win that 1 versus 2. But Adder keeps it clean. Adder also is able to conserve the op now for the next round for B-Dog, and that was the biggest thing as well for Dark Zero. Keeping the op, playing a 4-1, this time with the op on the A side, so you can get some good early information on top of pipes, instead of trying to play more passively from yellow, and then you can react off that. And when they did that, he gave a chance there for Corey to move around and for both double duelists to anchor out towards A. Now Oxygen are realizing that Dark Zero are pivoting the op from place to place, so they need to try to leverage that a little bit more, or they need to try to figure out and snuff out where the op could be at the very beginning. His contact plays got denied.
2 Viper's pits, 2 good post plan of Oxygen. set things up. And now that they've finally lost a round on A, or finally lost a round in general, Oxygen gonna switch things up. They're gonna be running into a lot of KJ traffic. They're just gonna be relying on aim, I guess, to clear yellow boxes. And now the swing at the same time pushes Dark Zero back past the Viper's wall. High Tide just to cut off mid, leaving the very back of spawn open.
Oh, the
Oxygen hope to plant quickly, and Redux does what he can to pave a path, but Dark Zero play as a team, and they come out ahead in the exchange. It's only Verno with no spike planted. Dark Zero did such a good job with reading this and preventing it from even developing.
That was really on Corey's positioning as well on the top of that bridge. Here's the footsteps. Couldn't really find the first one that was hugging the High Tide, but the second pathing, where I was giving a lot of credit for Redux on the previous rounds on how he's able to scale up the sites and get a lot of space for the team. This time exposed himself a little bit as he was walking out towards danger, towards Snowman. The call came out from Corey. He dropped down and he pinched everybody fighting back towards B. Why? Because Dark Zero pulled nanoswarms into the site. There's no opportunities to play that open post plan at the default that Mitch was doing before. So they're just trying to pivot to fight towards a spawn, especially with the High Tide that he threw. And Dark Zero looked like they were ready for it.
Another A hit.
Get out of my way!
And this time we did place the Viper wall there to help them establish and retake the site if needed. Hunter's Fury, now that they've sensed Oxygen are lurking around A, it's already too late. Oxygen are set up, and they have Redux on top of screens, getting a peek at Dark Zero before they could throw util, before they could try to emerge back in. Now Corey, the Empress, you better watch out. We don't get to see Corey on this agent too often. But with the spike planted, Oxygen can take a step back and play off the Viper's pit. And Dark Zero hope to flush them out. And they're starting with the perimeter. And now Adder steps up, but he was by himself. And Oxygen are just reacting quicker. We're now with the two-man advantage. And time on their side, Oxygen seem to just snuff out every target. And Dark Zero, it's an even bigger lead that they have to surmount.
Yeah, this is going to be a 2-9 scoreline for Oxygen. I mean, this kind of just repeats itself of how Oxygen has been playing against Dark Zero, against M80. Always very, very strong first halves, and then it gets a little bit closer going into that second one. But I like the position that we had from Oxygen in that post plant, from that Viper, from Scuba. There's been, I know it was 100 Thieves playing, but I forgot against who. But they had so many players on the opposite end holding inside that pit that 100 Thieves had so much utility to throw inside that pit to take them down towards jail. But what's different this time around for Oxygen is they kind of keep just Scuba alone inside the pit, and then two players on the left side of Nest so they could fight pipes, so nobody could really jump across here for Dark Zero inside the pit to try to take down Scuba. So I like how they're working together here.
Corey's kind of a one and done. He'll get spotted. Well, the Owl drone saw a murder. And will be a witness in court. Oxygen now have a man up. But still one duelist in their path. And B-Dog is trying to play with Stellar. They've drawn back, so they know this is a real hit coming towards the B side. Now hearing them escape, Oxygen are going to head back towards A, and that's where Adder's utility is set up.
I suggest you move, walls up.
And it's going to be an open
reckoning.
site. Yep. It's going to be quite easy
It's
in the end.
so free.
Yep. Nanoswarms too, not even towards the top, and they could just wait this out here as it's pretty much an open site.
Okay, catching the flank. Good read by Redux, but someone was swinging wider than he thought. 3v3 though, and I think Dark Zero won this. They're coming out ahead with Sheriffs and barely anything in the tank. But Oxygen just have to not choke this, right? Stellar creeping up right next to the spike, but someone above him turns and burns on Mitch. Knows Verno's on the flank, sees the recon as evidence. But he knows that, well, Verno's just gonna play his life until the last second, gets it halfway. Stellar, the mind games, but it's looking too late for Stellar to win. Oh, yeah, too late for him to win the round. Oxygen 10-2 in the half.
It started off so well too when they had a mixed buy or high risk, high reward kind of thing that they're trying to do. The econ was so low following the rifle that was saved from that previous round. So they tried to go for that triple stack in that area. I probably would have wanted to give it to, you know, B-Dog instead with the rifle so he could dash away if the owl drone came out. But Corey just tried to go for that hero play himself and unfortunately got punished. In the end, though, still made it close in that 3 versus 3 with the lower buy. But what's most important is Oxygen continuing this lead now by 8, switching over to halves. And that's just great displays of Oxygen and how they've been playing these post plans and playing it more, not necessarily more. They've been just in clean control of how they were playing the attack side, and Dark Zero, unfortunately, with this new comp, it hasn't amounted to the best success.
Yeah, just the harbor from Mitch is what really sealed the deal for me on offense, at least. And at least on Lotus, when Oxygen were up, it was 8-4. There was a bit of a buffer there, but a couple of rounds away for Oxygen to send Dark Zero out of Challengers playoffs. Dark Zero dashing across, good start, but B-Dog needs help, and Corey will get the trade. And Mitch puts down a cove so he can cross safely into mid-cut. He does get vulnerable by a snake bite. Dark Zero take a second to collect themselves, and once the wall comes down, they could be faced with a lot of Oxygen members now having to turn to face the Sova utility throne. Dark Zero find cover, make sure to keep their attention on someone like Redux on the high ground who's used the dash. Now the plant goes down and Oxygen can't prevent it. Not being a person down with walls up. And no util. Oxygen have to swing at the same time or wait out the wall, and time is of the essence. Dark Zero need every round they can get, and this is how they can collect a few rounds to get back into the series. And Redux is left in a 1v2 and already made his job a bit easier with 1. One could be around the yellow box, and it's a crossfire between Corey and We Did. Redux is good, but I don't know how good. And Dark Zero on the board.
Much needed pistol run and beautiful plays that came out from Dark Zero. And I just want to commend how good the util's being utilized by the Viper at this point for Dark Zero. When they've been stalled long enough by Oxygen with the util that was being thrown on the defensive side, when they still have control of yellow and you're waiting for the next cycle of fuel to come up, instead of pulling the wall up for a plant, they wanted to move in and go for a stick while having players watching their backs. Because what would happen instead if you pulled up the wall and went for a plant directly? All the players have already rotated across. That gives them an even better opportunity to swing out and go for a kill, and then potentially swing around back in your favor. So you leverage the wall to fall back instead.
Corey, first blood, Dark Zero are met halfway. Oxygen build the wall and help Redux dash out and not get to safety. Dark Zero catch the ponytail, I guess I should say the bun of Redux on the jet. So now Dark Zero have a shock bolt left, 2 away from the Hunter's Fury and the spike in hand. As Oxygen hope to just react to hearing the spike, but Verno, Dapper, and Mitch are all tagged up as We Did. The best bodyguard money can buy. Just on the other side of the wall as soon as it emerges. Great stack from Oxygen. They give themselves the advantage, but it's still a retake that's going to be hard to do now that you've let Dark Zero get back to yellow box and even back towards spawn. As Oxygen just hoping to have the right timing once the harbor wall goes down, and with the cove trying to get the spike halfway. Adder slap to the face and cleans up the third. Dark Zero with the second round in the half.
And that's exactly what would happen when that wall comes down. Players waiting just behind and defeating We Did, trying to lurk up for a kill. But at the end, this ends up being a ends up being a pretty good eco that came out from Oxygen, no matter what, though, to damage and take down 3 weapons in the process, and forcing the hand of Adder to make such a big play coming out from his side to kill those 2 guys inside the gulag that was placed up by Mitch, and allowing that round to be won here for Dark Zero. But their bonus round is not going to be the best. 2 Guardians, 3 Vandals, and gets an op already out for Redux, and he has full control of A site.
Can Dark Zero mount the most insane comeback? They did it before when they went back on offense on Lotus. A little quick jump peek from Corey. Going up from Redux is there. Oh, he almost had a collider. Redux almost died. The what ifs, but both teams come out with all 5 still intact. At the Lear as Dark Zero take this step by step. Redux ping now knowing where the stop is important information for Dark Zero as how they want to approach it. And they set B-Dog up on the perch, but Corey down low is taken out. There is the collab, and Dark Zero just stacked up and really tested Redux in that moment. But he gets the last laugh, and Adder is the last one left with Spike on the other side, and a lot of trouble too. Now he's just sandwiched. Say goodbye to him. Oxygen up to 11. 2 more before they knock one of our best challenger teams out of playoffs.
And this, once again, may be the same storyline towards the end for Oxygen against Dark Zero on this map of Icebox, as this was probably the best Nanoswarms timing that you had from Dapper, that not only burnt down B-Dog, forced him out of the A tower, and kind of forced Dark Zero to be swinging out to try to help out B-Dog and go for trades. And that's where you saw Redux getting collapsed, getting kills, and no information that Dark Zero really had moving inside the site. And they're realizing how it's desperate times now. Force buy into the round. Hunter's Fury to follow behind, potentially around the util. But the thing is, it's Stellar with the Hunter's Fury with the spike on his back. I feel they got to give the spike to somebody else so he could actually drone, clear up the spike, clear up the site rather, and have somebody else plant so he could get everything ready in terms of the rest of the util.
And the last time these two faced on Icebox, Dark Zero lost 13-5. Oxygen won this, and it looks like the past may just repeat itself. And Dark Zero want to beat the allegations, and they'll start by at least getting the spike down. And at the corner too, Corey doesn't have a Lear, but kills could help him truly feast or famine against Oxygen. But they wait and see what Oxygen do as they emerge through on the high ground and around this tower. Scuba has B-Dog low right ahead. It's an easy finish. The Dark Zero are weakened, and Redux doesn't get the one shot with the op, and he drops. It's a 3v3. Dark Zero fight tooth and nail to protect the spike, and it's all up to Stellar, who'll have to upgrade his gun to a Guardian, but Verno lasts just longer. And Oxygen, match point, series point.
And you saw what was going to happen there. Perfect utility on the top of a post plan, and Oxygen just waited and waited. You know that there was only one nano on there. The high tech came up. You're forcing out util to be popped very early, so you have something to try to delay and try to run the clock down with the Hunter's Fury. But while the Hunter's Fury is going through, and the high tech kind of just split the site in two, literally, nobody on the left side could swing out and fight on the ones tapping on the spike and allow here Oxygen to get map and series point and eliminate Dark Zero here and move forward in the lower brackets of challengers. Another broken buy now for Dark Zero. A 2-2-1, just trying to go for heroic plays and stay alive in this game. Look at where the spike is. They're just trying to commit to try to punish where Oxygen could be and hoping to punish Oxygen on mishaps, mispositioning. And so far, it's not. The Owl Drone's already going to see we did.
Now with this lockdown, Blade Storm, no Hunter's Fury. That's off the board now that Verno is gone. It's an important first blood, something to get Dark Zero back on their feet. They were undefeated on this map in the season, even beating down Blinn 13-3. They were so confident after their results from week 4 to choose this map against Oxygen. But that advantage is now gone with that trade from Mitch. And Dark Zero are set up on A. Blade Storm from Redux. With the op in hand too.
Oh no.
Lockdown from Dapper. And Corey has been caught. Scuba is just invisible. And Oxygen have not stopped tearing Dark Zero apart. Stellar. It's looking dim. It's looking grim. And it's an Oxygen win to move on in playoffs. 13-4. Decimation in the Dark Zero camp.
And that is such a different story from the first map that we've seen here between these two teams. And Oxygen just continued foot on the gas, driving through Dark Zero in this second map on Dark Zero's map pick, and unfortunately now eliminating Dark Zero. A great run no matter what though for Oxygen, but also an even better run for Dark Zero from stage 1 to stage 2. Remember, this is also a team that was unsigned for 2 years of Challengers so far, finally had an opportunity, finally had an organization like Dark Zero that gave him a chance finally to play as a team in a house and try to compete through. But unfortunately, it ends now, and I'm hoping that we're going to see the same roster next year around, and I'm also hoping to see Read It again next year around.
Yeah, and he said it was they wanted one last ride together. Whatever happens, they were going to do it as a team.
Yeah.
And Dark Zero did that. One of the longest Challengers overtimes we have seen in years, to put Oxygen on the brink of defeat on their flawless map, to just falling over on Icebox when Oxygen took full control. An incredible series. It's sad to see Dark Zero go, but exciting to see what awaits Oxygen. Would it be another grand final win? I don't know. They're stuck in the lower bracket, but I want to hear from the desk. So let's go tune in.
Who did? We did.
Much love to the guys at Dark Zero as they try to fight on the second map, but it is Oxygen the ones who take the win, and they move forward on the bracket, on this lower bracket run that we've talked about. And Emily, we talked about it. It was a map one that was so exhausting. Could have been even 2 maps, and for the last one, I think for this map of Ice Whips was just all the control that Oxygen had to close it out.
I know. I feel like it was just energy draining. It's so difficult as a player to reset when you don't have much time on that much OT. And I feel like that really hurt Dark Zero overall, because, I mean, Icebox is a really good map choice for them. And you could just tell that they just couldn't find an answer, I feel like, against what Oxygen Esports was doing. The half was 10-2, so that was really difficult. They started on their best side, too, so it's really heartbreaking, honestly. I think we're all rooting for Dark Zero, but Oxygen Esports is just stronger at the end of the day for right now. And, I mean, Redux is one of my favorite players to watch, and it shows. He's just constantly shining. He's constantly consistent, and overall, they just take the dub.
And it seems like, and we thought that this was going to go to 3 maps, and although the rounds could have pushed us to the 3 maps, it was only the 2 Gompres that ends up going in the way of Oxygen. So they move forward on this bracket. A Dark Zero that we've talked about, so unfortunately we have to say goodbye to them on this year, but they had an amazing run. They had this team, as we remember, that Turtle Troop that was unsigned, no coach, just playing for the passion, for the love of the game, and then they get picked up by Dark Zero, who gave them a home, and they have this run that ends today.
They faced a lot of complications within Challengers, and I think, you know, even keeping that positive attitude with knowing that, hey, this might be our last game, let's just make a hell of a game today, and let's show people that this is DZ, okay, recently signed, and we're going to come back, and we're going to be even better. And I think that's exactly what they showcased here. Obviously with the OT coming into last game, and now putting up a pretty good fight against Oxygen. But Oxygen, they had Redux, he kind of popped off, playing into that duelist role. You saw it, 10 first blood. So overall, it was a difficult game to play within the Icebox map.
And it was great. It was great for the side of Oxygen, on the other side, especially after all of those rounds of overtime, after continuing to have the undefeated map of Lotus for that second split and now playoffs, and then going to the map of Icebox where they're able to dominate that 13-4. That is the end of this match, but it's not over yet. We're going to send it to the series highlights, and when we come back, we have an interview with Redux.
One enemy remains.
For those who are just tuning in, is that win that goes the way of Oxygen against Dark Zero. And now we're going to the post-match interview, where this time around I get the chance to talk to Redux after the 2-0 win that we had today. And Redux, first of all, I want to say congratulations. And second, I want to talk about right into that first map. It was insane. An overtime that it seems like it was never going to end. What is the pressure and the emotions like when you're going into these rounds of overtime that seemed like they were never going to end?
Well, first of all, thank you. And for like the OT games, like, I don't know, like nerves, pressure-wise, it was like still 0-0 to me. I wasn't really thinking about the score, even when we were down, like, and we needed 3 to win, like 17-18, for instance. But to be honest, I just stuck to thinking it's 0-0. I don't think about the score, and, you know, we were able to win. That was a very close map, very scary.
And when we see that play to close it out, it was you getting a 3K. Is that decision, because for all of those overtimes we saw kind of the back-to-back between all of the players, but that one was you getting your moment for the 3K to close it out. Was that just that individual decision that you had, or was the game plan just to continue pushing with the team and close it out that way?
I was not gonna let them come out A main for free, so I was fighting that shit. And I probably would have been a 4K, but I Rosa ulted pretty bad. That was a little embarrassing, but yeah, I was letting them know that they can't come out A on me.
And that's just a way to close it out, and a way to go into the map of Icebox. Once you finish that map and you go into the Icebox, we had a feeling of, you know, whoever wins that map after being it so close was going to win that second one. Was that also the feeling that you had against Dark Zero and Icebox?
Like if they won, that they were going to win third?
Yeah, so whoever wins that, it was the feeling of whoever wins that first map, because it was so close, was going to carry on the momentum to the second.
Okay, yeah. I can see that. It could. I just don't think their comp was that good on Icebox. Like the Reyna Jet double duelist pick seemed like a really like brawly, you know, like old meta type comp. Yeah. So, I mean, it was. I think it was just a comp thing. It wasn't really like momentum thing. Maybe that had something to do with it, but I think the momentum really mattered more when we started getting like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. Like that. That's when the momentum was really important there, and not letting them get back into the game at all was probably the highlight of Icebox.
And something to talk about as well, your last match was once against M80. That was looking good. That's how they ended up getting that win, kind of making a comeback to you guys. So from that last match against M80 to the match today, what changes to make sure that you know, you're able to get the win and continue this lower record run?
Figuring out our defense. I think we figured it out. We're ready, and like any team that tests our defense, be prepared. That was corny.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine.
That was so corny.
Be prepared. No. Be prepared. And talking about being prepared, also my last question, but also the next match is going to be either against Blinn or TSM. Can you give me your predictions on how that match is going to go, and maybe if you have a preference on who you're going to face?
Well, I will say this: if Blinn plays how they've been playing in scrims, Blinn is winning the whole fucking thing. All right, that's all I'm saying. Listen, if Blinn plays how they play in scrims, they're winning everything. But I think depending on the map, like depending on how what maps are picked, it could go either way. But I think Blinn has the advantage here.
I like that. I feel like Blinn, as you said, they've been looking good even in the matches. They took that loss against Moist Shopify, but overall, this is a kind of underrated team that can make it far. We're gonna see if it's gonna be, you know, that complete run that they have. And also, actually, I have one more question for you. How confident are you in the lower record run for you?
More confident than ever. I actually hate the like starting upper and like going through like imagine you get to finals upper and then you lose. Dude, that's terrible. I'd rather just go through lowers. So I like lowers better personally. I like my back against the wall.
Yeah, get a little more experience, get a little bit more matches, get a little bit more momentum for the matches. We're going to see how that's going to play out. You're definitely, I think, Oxygen is definitely the favorite when it comes to winning and going through the lower bracket run, but we're going to see how that plays out. Redux, thank you so much for the interview. This is everything that we have for the match as well, and we're going to see if that's who they're going to face next. But we have one more match today, and it's the one that Redux was talking about. He talked a lot about how Blinn was going to play out, and they're going to go against TSM after this break.
say in life, there are no guarantees. They say a lot of stuff like that. Slow it down. Play it safe. Hedge your bets. So what? You gonna listen to that? You gonna stop because they can't guarantee you'll pull this off? No guarantee you'll win? No guarantee everything's gonna be fine? In life, you make your own guarantees. Nobody else will light your way. Start your own fire and keep it burning. And we guarantee you'll have one hell of a lifetime.